What's going on, everyone? So I was watching NFL Network yesterday, and Dwight Hicks came on to do a special segment breaking down the 49ers' stunning upset victory over the Eagles, and what moves they might make heading into the divisional round against Seattle. Seeing Dwight on there immediately caught my attention because as a former 49ers legend and member of those great championship defenses in the 80s, he understands what it takes to win playoff football in San Francisco better than almost anyone. What I heard from him over the next several minutes was honestly some of the most passionate and insightful playoff analysis I've heard from any former player this postseason. And the way he connected the unlikely heroes from the Eagles game to the potential addition of Darrell Taylor to what challenges the Seahawks present showed he's been paying very close attention to this team's journey. Let me walk you through everything Dwight said because hearing him talk about his former team with that level of detail and emotion while also being realistic about their limitations and what they need to do to keep winning was genuinely some of the best 49ers-specific analysis I've heard all season. Hey, what's up, everyone? Real quick before we get into everything, that like button is literally what determines if this reaches hundreds or thousands of fans. Takes 1 second, but makes a huge impact on the channel's growth. Just smash that like button right now. It's the easiest thing you can do, but honestly, the biggest way to support this content. Every single like pushes this further, so hit it now. So Dwight opened the segment saying, "It's another great show on tap for today's San Francisco 49ers report, and he's so glad everyone is hanging out with him to talk some playoff football." He said coming up on the show, they're going to discuss whether the 49ers are going to sign a pass rusher and defensive end heading into the divisional round against the Seattle Seahawks. Talk about the unlikeliest of heroes for San Francisco in that win over the Eagles, and get into more 49ers-Seahawks matchup talk. What a game we have in the second round of the NFL playoffs, and you could hear the excitement in his voice. But first, Dwight wanted to address the rivalry aspect, saying it's Seahawks week, and if you hate the Seahawks and love the 49ers, you need to say it with your chest and hit that thumbs up icon and like the show. He wanted at least 1,000 likes to show the fandom is legit. And he loves when the 49ers faithful get fired up about these rivalry games. With the 49ers advancing and hopefully Fred Warner returning soon, Dwight was promoting some Dub City gear and clearly excited about the team's chances moving forward. The big question he wanted to address first was whether the 49ers could sign a pass rusher going into the divisional round, and the player in question is Darrell Taylor. Ian Rappaport broke the news that the Texans are releasing the pass rusher, who just came off injured reserve and is healthy now, and he heads to waivers, where he can be claimed by a playoff team. Darrell Taylor went on injured reserve November 5th with an ankle injury and returned to practice for Houston on December 17th. So he's been healthy for a little while now. He only played in 4 games this season, with the Texans recording 3 tackles, and things haven't gone as hoped or anticipated for him in Houston. But Dwight wanted to provide context, saying, "You also have to keep in mind that Texans defense and the Seahawks defense are 2 of the best defenses in the National Football League. At pass rusher specifically, Houston might have the best duo with Will Anderson, who's an absolute stud, and Danielle Hunter, who's a dog as well. The depth pieces behind them are good players too, so Darrell Taylor was kind of on the outside looking in of that depth equation through no real fault of his own." The background on Taylor is he was a 2020 second-round pick who's 6'4" and 267 pounds, which Dwight noted is significant because the 49ers do like and prefer larger defensive ends who can set the edge against the run while also getting after the quarterback. He started his career with the Seahawks from 2020 through 2023, and some people might say he might have some current intel on this Seattle team. But Dwight was quick to point out he was there prior to this Mike Macdonald regime, so he doesn't think Taylor can give you good intel for what Seattle does on defense or offense because the coordinators and play callers have changed, and schematically, it's a much different Seahawks team, personnel-wise. Taylor was with the Bears in 2024 and with the Texans this year, and Dwight wanted to break down why Darrell Taylor would fit the 49ers' needs right now. He has been a productive pass rusher throughout his career and has played in multiple 4-3 defenses since being drafted in the second round back in 2021. He signed with the Texans to play under DeMeco Ryans, who, as we know, is a former 49ers defensive coordinator and one of the best defensive minds in the sport, so he's familiar with similar defensive concepts. Taylor's sack production by year shows he's been a productive player when given opportunity. In 2021, he had 6.5 sacks. In 2022, he had his best year with 9.5 in year 2. In 2023, he had 5.5 sacks. And in 2024, this year, he has none. So there has been a decline over the last few years, but as Dwight emphasized, this 49ers pass rush needs all the help it can get right now. They had a great defensive performance against the Eagles in the wild card round, but it wasn't because of their pass rush. They could barely get to Jalen Hurts consistently. San Francisco this year is dead last in the NFL in sacks by a wide margin. And that's not hyperbole. It's a statistical fact. Darrell Taylor could help them with the depth piece, getting after the quarterback here throughout the playoffs, if they put in that waiver claim, and Dwight seemed to think it's worth the risk given how desperate they are for any kind of pass rush help. Then, Dwight transitioned to talking about the unlikeliest of heroes for the 49ers against the Eagles. And this is where his analysis got really emotional and passionate, because these stories represent everything about playoff football. Guys stepping up when their number is called and making the most of unexpected opportunities. The first player he highlighted was Eric Kendricks, who wasn't added to this team until late November, going into that Browns game all the way back in Week 13. Kendricks signed with the 49ers on November 26th and hasn't had a lot of time to get acclimated with the team yet. But yesterday, Dwight thought he played sensational football. He had 73 total snaps, with 31 in coverage, allowed 5 targets for 42 yards, with 1 pass breakup to end the game. He had 10 total tackles, with no missed tackles after last week, when the 49ers as a team missed 18 of them against Seattle. He had 2 tackles for loss and 5 stops, and Dwight was emphasizing how massive that was. The 49ers linebackers were horrible against the Seahawks in Week 18, but the linebackers against the Eagles were really good. It was Eric Kendricks, alongside Garrett Wallow. And Dwight knew a lot of people watching might be saying, Garrett Wallow, who? So he explained that Wallow was claimed off waivers from the Broncos back in December, even after Kendricks was signed. He started his first game on Sunday since 2022, and what did he do? He led the 49ers with 11 tackles and a pass breakup. Between Wallow and Kendricks, these 2 players only missed 2 tackles combined, and Dwight said, this type of story is another example of the 49ers' belief as a football team and their resilience through adversity. When everyone counted them out and said they couldn't win without Fred Warner and all their star linebackers, these street free agents and waiver claims stepped up and played winning football. Then for the low-key MVP discussion, Dwight brought up Malik Mustafa, the rookie 5th-round pick out of Kansas State. He reminded everyone that Mustafa started the year as a starter at that safety position and wasn't necessarily bad in coverage. He had some closely contested battles that he lost out on, but then he was replaced by Dre Greenlaw, and then other guys cycled through. So Mustafa was relegated to playing special teams for a while and had to wait for his opportunity. But look at how he fared against the Eagles when Greenlaw hurt his hamstring and Mustafa had to step in. He played 24 coverage snaps and 40 total snaps for the game, allowing only 1 catch for 8 yards with a 73.4 overall grade, which was second highest among the team. He had that great tackle in space against Devonta Smith that prevented a big gain, had a coverage grade of 69.4, and had 7 solo tackles to lead the team in that category. Dwight was saying, these are the unlikeliest of heroes stepping up for such a thrilling 49ers victory. And as someone who was part of those great defenses in the 80s, he knows how important it is to have depth and guys who are ready when their number is called. That's championship football right there. Then he transitioned to the 49ers Seahawks preview for the divisional round, mentioning that the full preview is already up on the channel and starting to take off with views. He encouraged everyone to check it out and said they'll probably do 2 or 3 previews for this game throughout the week because of the significance of this rivalry matchup in the playoffs. The 49ers in this game are 7-point underdogs after they were 6-point dogs against Philadelphia. And Dwight noted the irony that they just won outright as underdogs, and now Vegas is making them even bigger underdogs in Seattle. The game is taking place on Saturday, January 17th at Lumen Field in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest, though the exact time will be determined after Monday Night Football between the Steelers and Texans. The over-under is at 45.5 points, and Dwight wanted to address something important. He knows this defense for the 49ers has been criticized a lot throughout the season, and rightfully so, given their injuries and lack of pass rush. But Seattle in 2 games against San Francisco this year has only scored 26 combined points. What a job by Robert Saleh's defense against one of the more productive offenses in the NFL, and that should give 49ers fans some confidence going into this game. Another interesting scenario Dwight pointed out for the Seahawks is they had their bye week in the wild card round because they got that #1 seed by beating the 49ers in the regular season finale. Seattle now has to play San Francisco in back-to-back games, and as the old saying goes, it's hard to beat a team twice in a year. It's also hard to beat a team twice in back-to-back matchups when they've had time to study film and make adjustments. And here's where Dwight got really fired up, and you could hear the frustration in his voice. He hates what the NFL did with the schedule, and he tweeted this out when the league announced this game would be on Saturday. It's insane that the 49ers have to go on the road and play the Seahawks off their bye week on a short week on Saturday, after traveling across the country to Philadelphia for Sunday's game. Yet the Bears and Rams will play on Sunday, after they both just played on Saturday, so they're getting normal rest. It makes no sense, Dwight was saying. He knows historically the #1 seeds have played on Saturday in the divisional round, but the Bears and Rams could have gotten normal rest, while the 49ers also got normal rest by flipping those game times. But instead, San Francisco is getting screwed on rest, which is just another chip on the shoulder for this team that's been counted out all season. The Darrell Taylor signing discussion came back around as Dwight emphasized how critical it would be to add any kind of pass rush help before Saturday's game, even if Taylor isn't the player he was a couple years ago when he had 9.5 sacks. Just having another body who can spell Nick Bosa and give him some rest would be valuable. The 49ers have been so depleted on the edge that they need to explore every option available, and a veteran like Taylor, who knows what playoff football is about, could provide a spark. What really struck me about Dwight Hicks' entire breakdown was how much he still cares about this organization and wants to see them succeed. This wasn't detached analysis from a former player who's moved on. This was passionate commentary from someone who bleeds red and gold and understands what 49ers football is supposed to look like. When he talked about the unlikely heroes stepping up like Kendricks, Wallow, and Mustafa, you could hear the pride in his voice because that's what championship teams do. And when he discussed the schedule unfairness and how the 49ers are getting disrespected by being made 7-point underdogs despite just winning on the road as underdogs, there was genuine anger there. Dwight knows this team has been counted out all season because of injury, and he's tired of people sleeping on what they're capable of when they play with that resilience and belief that's carried them this far. So what do you guys think? Should the 49ers absolutely put in a waiver claim for Darrell Taylor to add any kind of pass rush help before the Seahawks game? Or is he too washed up at this point to make a difference? And can San Francisco actually pull off another upset in Seattle despite being 7-point underdogs on a short week? Or is this finally where the magic run ends? Let me know in the comments, because after watching Dwight Hicks break down every angle of this matchup with that level of passion and insider knowledge of what it takes to win in San Francisco, I'm pretty convinced this team has more magic left in them than people realize.